Your world building document is boring. I'm sorry that I had to say it, but I wish somebody had told me that way earlier in my DMing career. And that's not to say that your world is boring. It probably isn't. But writing 3,000 plus words on the lore and history of your elves, it's not interesting. Especially if it's just generic Tolkien fiction. When I make a video for YouTube, it does not matter how good I think the video is. If my audience is just not interested in the topic, then nobody is going to watch it. The same goes for your D&D world. If you write something long-winded and disinteresting, it's gonna be an obstacle for people to enjoy your setting. So, how do we remedy this epidemic of boredom sweeping the TTRPG hobby space? Well, it's simple. Make a map. Howdy folks, and welcome back to Delver. As you can probably tell, I am a huge fan of maps. I collect maps from across fiction because it is the #1 way for me to get interested in a setting. Have a good map? I'm 10 times more likely to engage with your setting. Have a bad map or no map? I'm going to bounce off of your setting no matter how interesting it gets past that 200-page mark. It's the #1 reason I just can't get involved with a lot of setting books. If I have to read thousands of words to understand the basic concept of your world, then I'm going to struggle. That's why I love lore channels that cover complex settings like Warhammer 40k, The Forgotten Realms, Five Nights at Freddy's. The truth is though, making a video detailing the complex lore of your world is not going to be an interesting way to get your players to invest. Trust me, I know. Maps, however, are an incredible tool for getting your players to establish a common experience in your world, encourage exploration and curiosity, and avoid writing massive text documents that nobody is going to read. And one side note, if you're looking to make really awesome maps, I would highly recommend Incarnate. I just want to be clear, I am not sponsored by Incarnate in any way. I have just been using their software for years to make battle maps and my actual homebrew fantasy maps, and I could not recommend it enough. There are a lot of other good map making programs out there that I've been shown. It's just that Incarnate is the one that I always go back to and use. I'll include a link in the description for anyone who's interested. When a player first drops into your world, they begin the imaginative process of creating the world, your world, in their mind. The world that they have in their mind is going to be very similar to your world, but it is going to be fundamentally different just because they imagined it. It is the reason that making movies around popular books is difficult. Everyone has a different interpretation of what it should look like. The recent Percy Jackson and the Olympian series did this the best for me. It looked exactly as I imagined it growing up. Some of my friends, however, had the opposite experience. Story changes aside, they imagined Camp Half-Blood looking far different than it appeared in the show. Let's do a little experiment. Imagine a red door. Now imagine that the door is round. You may have seen this door. However, I saw this door. They are fundamentally the same. However, now that I've shown you them, there's something different, right? It doesn't feel as real as the door that you imagined in your head, because the one in your head, you could zoom in, you could zoom out, you could see the grains on the door, you can imagine how it smells. Now it's just a picture. You've missed out on the experience of creating that door for yourself, and now I'm just showing you what it is. What I did is I told you. Maps don't have that problem. They are, at their core, interpretations of the world from people in the world. They could have wild artwork, simple notes, and even miss out on crucial information. When you discover that really cool vampire castle, for example, you could then add it to the map. It now exists in your world, and later players may be curious as to what it is. Wait, there are vampire castles in this world? That's so cool, let's go check it out. When you see a location on a map and it has all of these descriptive additives and areas around it, you begin to develop a general idea and personal idea of what it looks like. And when your party eventually visits it, any additional additive descriptive elements, that's just going to add to the vision they already had. Unless, that is, someone just shows you a picture of it. Now, that entire imaginative creation in your mind, it's gone. It's replaced by the picture on the screen, and it's now just that, a picture. The place is now just condensed into one singular thing. It's no longer real or personal to you. The true power of maps in D&D is that it encourages curiosity and exploration in a way that a text document just never could. If I explained to you a really awesome part of my world and you were really interested in it, and I was like, oh yeah, let me tell you all about it, eventually it's going to slip your mind, especially if it's in a text document, because there's nothing to ground it. You're not visually seeing anything. If you remember haphazardly that you need to go there, or you need to remember what it looks like, you're like, oh, let me go into the text document, and you have to scroll through all these pages just to get to the part that you're really interested in. With a map, however, you can point and go, oh wow, I do remember Sean mentioning a kingdom of Grung. That must be it right there. We should go check it out and see if there's anything to do. Take this map of the Forgotten Realms, for example. I got this from my local theater when we saw the D&D movie Honor Among Thieves last year. It is one of my favorite maps that I own. Just from the first glance, I now have a ton of questions. Do frog people live in the High Moor? What did kobolds do that was so impressive or infamous that they got put on a map next to Cormanthor? If I was in a campaign in the Forgotten Realms, I could then ask my DM and my DM could expand on my curiosity that was it was genuine. And then after they explain it all, they could say something like, oh, but that's just what you know. That's just rumor. If you want to know for certain, you should probably go there. Now, let's do the same with my own personal setting of Highhaven. What questions immediately come to your mind? Well, it could be, why is there a massive crack with blue flames in the east? Oh, that's the Abyssal Maw, and it's a breach from the Nine Hells into the material plane, and it is constantly guarded by the Seraphim, penitent knights that hold back devils from entering the world. Or you could ask, why is the Academy of Sorcery covered in mist? Oh, well, they're constantly at war with the Astamir Enclave, and use the mist to protect themselves from teleportation magic and spies. Those small descriptions do spark creative curiosity. It makes people ask questions that may lead to full-length campaigns, and it all started because some people looked at a map you made. For example, if your players are really interested for some reason about the ruins of Westport, you can start to create an adventure around that, and when they get there and they go to explore, oh my goodness, something is going on here. It's so engaging. Now, look, writing lore for your setting is monumentally important, and it's what takes a cool looking map to a cool sounding world. It's a crucial part of world building, but it should be, for the majority of it, something you do behind the screen, something that you reveal to your players in time or give them simple notes on, so then that will spark their curiosity more when they look at your map. And that's the thing, do you want your players to engage with your world on a more meaningful level? Good. Drop a map right in front of them, let them ask questions, and when they start to ask those questions, reference your notes and tell them about what piques their curiosity. It's going to be far more interesting than dropping a huge text document at their feet and just hoping they read it. My setting of Highhaven has over 500,000 words and over 400 pages of written material, and that's just an estimate. It's probably way more than that by now. Some people have read that lore, but not all of it, and a very small minority of my players. And there's so many revisions and things thrown out that it would make it difficult for anyone to keep up with it. Now, however, my players know way more about my setting because I put a map in front of them and let them ask questions. They are far more engaged in my setting, and that's because they got something that they can visually look at and ground them and make it realistic in a way that 50,000 words on a document just won't. Map making is the epitome of show and don't tell. My players are stimulated upon looking at the map, and they find answers through me. And if your players aren't satisfied with the answers that you give, that's good, because now they can look at the map, go, okay, it's a 7-day journey to get there, and once we get there, we can start to look for the answers we're actually searching for. And that's really it. It's a really great tool to engage your players and to get them to actually invest and actually be interested in the lore that you as a DM work so hard on. They no longer have to spend days or weeks cramming the information of your setting into their brains like they're about to take a test. They can look at a map, point, ask, what's that, and be assured that they're going to get an answer or that they can find the answer in the game. Before I go, I just want to give a huge shout out to Wally DM and the team behind the quintessential guide to monster encounters. This video is not sponsored in any way, however, I did receive a free copy courtesy of Wally DM, and it has been an incredible read so far. It's a compilation of encounters and monsters and lore that you can immediately take out of the book and put it right into your campaigns. Right off the rip, you get the Esfaraba, a CR 18 encounter that comes with a premise, lore for the monster, incredible art, and a killer, pun intended, stat block. Expect to see a few of these monsters appearing in our live stream very soon. You can pick up the book now for $24.99 at the link in the description. And that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you later.